I want to mention the men that made the game too.
All right. I want to start by welcoming you guys, Uncle Bob Grant, and Marv Fleming from Players Congress, the men who made the game. Glad to have you guys here tonight. And I've kind of been hinting around to the group that we're going to have a special topic that we're going to talk about tonight. And so first of all, I know that we're going to let Uncle Bob catch us up a little bit with some Player Congress news and some events of what's been going on around the NFL a little bit. So Uncle Bob, if you want to take it away, glad to have you part of the group again.
Well, thank you. And I'll tell you what, Jim, we been waiting to get back on the show there. And Marv says we're on. And then finally he says, you got to send Jim a check for $50,000 if you want to get on. So I hope that you received the check.
I got it. Thank you.
We just sent it to you. Since the last time we were the players, retired NFL Players Congress, which is who we are, has made tremendous strides as we continue our work to help retired players from all of the teams, their families, and make a contribution to the communities that we all live in, and some of the communities that we don't live in as well. Since then, we have taken on one new partner that is called On the Move, and that is ONTHEMUV. So that would be onthemove.com if you want to see it. And that is a revolutionary piece of equipment that in the general public, I think you're going to be seeing that. I know a lot of people can use it. Sports clubs are going to be able to use it. I've talked with a couple of the NFL teams already. They want to take a look at it. But the exciting thing about it is we, the Players Congress, have an equity interest in that company. And these are people who have been around in that field for a long time. We had them checked out thoroughly before we agreed to do business with them. So we're very proud of that. So everyone, when you have an opportunity, On the Move, MUV.com, you can see our newest venture. In addition to that, and I know that this is going to be really, really hard for anyone to believe, we signed on with the Dallas Cowboys as one of our partners. We had the other 31 teams who were doing their jackets, but as everyone knows, the Cowboys handle all of their own products, and they pretty much don't let anyone in except just want to manufacture for them, but they don't allow you to distribute. Jerry Jones is a very smart man. Has revolutionized the game and marketing in the game. So those cowboy jackets will be out hanging in your stores right beside the Green Bay Packer jackets this fall. And if anyone is interested in those right now, they can go to Players Congress, go to our store there, take a look at what's there, and we'd appreciate any orders that you place with us because it helps everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Uncle Bob. Thank you. We promote Players Congress quite often in our group. We do feel sorry for those Cowboy fans because we're Green Bay and we love the Green Bay Jackets, but hey, everybody has to have another team to make fun of, and so we do support those jackets of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, next we got Mr. Marv Fleming, the man, the myth, the legend, Marv Fleming. He's going to share with us some very interesting news, and I'm not going to say too much about it, but Marv brought a very special guest along with him that he's going to bring on in a couple minutes. So I'll let you take it over from here, Marv, and then when you're ready, you could introduce your guest to all the people as well. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, Marv, take it away.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be back on the air, letting all those Green Bay people say I'm saying hello to all those Green Bay people. Hello, Green Bay people. Go Pack. We, we as football players, and we have people who like football, think football is great. Well, it is great. It's great for entertainment, but I look back at my life and I said, wow, I was part of that entertainment for about 14 years, and you say 14 years. 14 years was a lot of years. And playing in that rough sport of football, when I think about it now, I kind of cringe. Even when I watch football now on TV, and the guy falls down and gets hurt, I'm saying, wow, how is that going to affect his body? Now, so far, I am, bless the Lord, I'm doing good. I'm going to say it. I'm 77 years young.
He's had cosmetic surgery. Look at that beautiful face.
77. But a lot of my teammates, and every day I hear about players I played with the Dolphins and I played with the Green Bay Packers are having difficulties. I've been really fortunate. I've been really fortunate. I like to say I've probably been the most fortunate pro football player ever. Now you're probably saying, wow, ever? Yes. I'll start out with just saying, when I was in college, I was invited to go home with my teammate for Thanksgiving. And what happened? We go visit San Francisco. I went to the University of Utah. We drive over the mountains to San Francisco, stay there 4 days, then we come back. And on the way back, I have my little Volkswagen, so I said, I'll drive and then I'll let you drive after. I kept telling my roommate, get some sleep. And he says, I'm cool. So by the time after 7 hours of driving, I said, George, I'm tired. He take over. So he took over, but during that time, it started to rain and snow and in the mountains. And so make a long story short on that was I fell asleep in the back seat and I woke up and we're totally out of control. I think George fell asleep, but he'll never tell me this day he fell asleep. So he gets the car under control. I says, George, what's going on? He says, it's windy. I said, well, if it's windy, hey, slow down, So I go back. He's laughing. So I go back to sleep and I wake up. This time we're totally out of control, going downhill. And I said, George, what are you doing? And a truck was coming up, blowing, blinking his lights. And I said, George, the guardrail. We go through the guardrail. We go 150 feet over and over in the car, boom, and we land in water, and I'm holding on to the bottom of the seat. And I said, George, we're in water, and he says, yeah, George, wake up, George. So George, wake up. So the way we got out, we had a sunroof. So we went to the sunroof. Today, I can still feel that chill from the water. And when I got out, I was on top of we were up by the bank. We're about 8 feet from the bank. And all I saw was some hand, I'll use Caucasian if that's okay, a Caucasian hand saying, here, give me your hand. And when I woke up, I was in the hospital. The doctors told me I broke my neck. And junior in college, I thought my world was gone. But it didn't affect me after I've had no residual symptoms. That's just one thing. There's other things. I've been so lucky to play in all these Super Bowl games, to play with great coaches, I even tore my Achilles heel playing basketball and still played 14 years. I went to Las Vegas one time and they wanted me to play a poker game. I didn't play poker. And they said, play poker anyway. So I had to play. I was a celebrity. I won the whole thing, 6 figures. I mean, one of my teammates says to me, he says, Marvin, we're having a guy coming over to, if you want to invest some money, come over to the Vermont Inn tonight. I said, okay. So I go over, and he says, I got this stock that's going to go through the world, go through the roof. Oh, really? Okay. And he says, whatever you have, put in it. So I said, I only have $8,000. He says, well, do that. Anyway, long story short, the $8,000 made over $290,000 in 6 months. I mean, my life has been so good. I mean, I go to the doctor now, you know, and all this happened. All this was happening because I've had a great life. But I go to hyperbarics. That's where I started going to advanced hyperbarics because of the concussion thing came out, you know. And all this is going outside is going good for Marvin, but what was going on the inside, I didn't know. So I started doing hyperbarics, and that's one of the best things I've done. And you're probably saying, what is hyperbarics? Well, my friend Hugo will come up in a minute and tell you a lot about my life. To play in all the Super Bowls I played, and I have like 9 rings. I mean, all that's good, but I've been very fortunate, and I think a lot of it has to do with my stay now because I'd say 28 of the 36 guys I play with are, if they're not in healthcare, they're not doing very well. So I'm very, very fortunate. And every time I wake up in the morning, I feel fortunate that I've been able to help people. Like, that's why I'm here at the Congress, to give my time to the guys who are in hard times and who needs people like myself. So what is really important now, what's really good, I brought him here. He drove 50 miles to get here. I'd like to introduce a very good friend of mine. His name is Hugo Jimenez. Hugo from Advanced Hyperbarics. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate being here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show. I very much appreciate the time to be here and share the information I have, and ultimately to work with these fine gentlemen.
Hugo, if you can, tell us a little bit about hyperbarics. You know, maybe a lot of people don't understand the benefits of it. And I know the first thing I think about when I heard the name hyperbaric chambers was concussions. Okay, but I know that me and Marv talked about a lot in the past. What other benefits could people take advantage of hyperbaric chambers? What other ailments does it help with?
Yeah, so, you know, hyperbarics actually started way back in the late 1600s. It was traditionally just used by putting people inside of a big metal chamber, and they would increase the atmospheric pressure inside of that chamber. And they found that it was helping people with various different types of illnesses of their day. But nonetheless, in modern day, hyperbarics is more conventionally used for the bends or decompression sickness, which occurs to a lot of divers when they come up to the surface too fast from their descent. And in a nutshell, what hyperbaric oxygen therapy is, we're going to give patients 100% oxygen while they're inside one of these pressurized chambers. So that way we can get a lot more of the molecules of oxygen into the body to help the cells go through their recovery process much quicker. So it's used for divers. We use it a lot for different types of brain injuries, in particular concussions. We also use it a lot for different types of wounds, diabetics, post-surgery. We see a lot of different types of infections as well. There's a lot of bacteria that hurt our bodies that just don't happen to survive in highly oxygenated environments, which is essentially what we turn your body into after we do this therapy.
How long does it take normally? What kind of a treatment is it? Are they in it for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? What is a normal treatment of it? am I even right calling it a treatment?
Yeah, you are. And we typically want patients to sit in the chamber breathing oxygen for a minimum of 1 hour. However, if you have more severe injuries, we typically want you in there at least an hour and a half. But it does take some time to increase the pressure inside of the chamber and then thereafter decrease the pressure. So you can expect to be in there for more like 75 minutes and about 2 hours for the 90-minute treatments. But while you're in there, at most facilities, including where I work, you usually have the luxury of sitting back, relaxing, watching a movie, listening to some music. Now, what the actual therapy feels like is really no different than flying in an airplane. All you're going to feel are pressure changes in your ears, similar to flying or driving through some mountains. So all the patient would have to do is just comfortably clear that ear pressure. They can sip on some water while they're in there or chew some gum, and ultimately just kick back while their body does its job and goes through its healing process a little bit quicker.
It doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Not at all. It's incredibly non-invasive.
Is there any kind of side effects afterwards? Any kind of dizziness or anything days after, that you go through it?
Nothing like that. It's not very common, but the most common, if at all, side effect would be people have a little bit of ear discomfort. Generally, if you don't tolerate an airplane ride very well because of your ears, you can anticipate to have a little bit of trouble inside of a hyperbaric chamber. Now, most hyperbaric chambers are controlled by somebody on the outside, to which you can give them feedback and they can slow down the descent, so that way you can more comfortably clear the pressure that's accumulating in your ears. So for most people, it's very, very tolerable. At our facility, we treat children down to like 2 years old, and they can do the treatment very well without any discomfort.
Hugo, I have a question, if you don't mind, Jim. Would there be any performance advantages for someone who is an athlete who's actually playing today? Could it benefit him as far as his performance level is concerned?
We're really starting to see that. Considering every muscle in the body uses oxygen to have that performance, by supplementing it intermittently like we do with hyperbarics, we're finding that people seem to have more energy to go through their workouts. Not only that, but after the fact, after their workout or event, everyone deals with fatigue and they have to recover. This really helps accelerate that process. Most athletes notice that they recover in about 50% less time that it would normally take them after an intense workout, because we're going to reestablish a high level of oxygen in the muscle, so that way they can use the oxygen, create energy for themselves to go through that healing process. But at the same time, we have additional benefits that come with the therapy. So when we give high amounts of oxygen to the body, it creates like a squeezing effect on the blood vessels, to where it helps push out inflammation. So after a hard workout or after you get tackled a couple times and you have some swelling, this is going to dramatically reduce that, so you're not dealing with the pain and not having to take any other medication that would typically be needed after the fact. Now, if you still do take medication, it's going to just complement it as well. So most people prefer to go the natural route, but nonetheless, it's a great complementary therapy as well.
One last question, and it may be a little silly, but it just popped into mind. For someone who is undergoing cancer treatment, as I was a number of years back now, could hyperbarics be a benefit to them while they're going through their chemotherapy, radiation, things like that?
Yeah, great question. They used to be afraid of hyperbarics with cancers, considering cancer cells are abnormally replicating themselves, where they cause a tumor and create a problem. However, they found and studied that with hyperbarics, it does not promote cancer cells. In fact, it does the opposite. Most cancer cells don't do well in hyperbaric environments because of the anti-inflammatory effects. And hyperbaric stimulates the creation of new blood vessels. So for a lot of cancers, this helps correct the circulation that is present in those tumors to better distribute nutrients and medication that they use to kill the cancers, so that way we can get better outcomes. So this is actually something that's being more utilized now by oncologists, to especially after chemoradiation therapy, because those therapies, aside from working very well to kill cancer cells, they can also damage healthy tissues, which we wouldn't want. So the hyperbarics helps limit the side effects that come with some of those harsher medications, as well as control and help regenerate the tissues that are affected by the drugs as well.
I have a question for you, Hugo. One of the members asked, would this kind of help after like a heart attack? Well, and you mentioned it helps with the blood cells. Would it help with heart attacks?
We're starting to see a lot of patients present with that. There haven't been too many large-scale studies done with heart attacks and hyperbarics, but the theory just makes sense, considering a heart attack and a stroke occur when those cells don't receive enough oxygen, either due to an obstruction or a bleed. By administering hyperbaric oxygen therapy after the injury, we're finding that these patients are having much quicker improvements than compared to if they were to be doing just rehabilitation without it.
Do you notice the NFL these days, because concussions are more common or maybe more recognized than they were in Marv's or Bob's playing days? Maybe they're able to diagnose a concussion more early on. And I thought I read a statistic recently that in the U.S., a concussion, there's more than 3 million U.S. cases per year. Do you feel like, one, the NFL is using hyperbaric chambers more? And is concussions one of the main things that people go and use hyperbaric chambers for these days?
It's definitely being utilized a lot more by football players at all levels, just because the awareness is growing. Now, I don't believe the NFL itself is advocating the therapy just yet. They seem to just barely be recognizing the fact that players are dealing with these long-term injuries. But I do know for a fact that a lot of individual teams do utilize hyperbarics. A lot of the trainers within their organizations to utilize mild versions of the therapy on site so that their players aren't dealing with the long-term damage and they're able to get back on the field a little bit quicker. But a lot of other professional sports organizations are starting to really incorporate it, at least within the teams themselves. A lot of high-level basketball players, tennis players, soccer players of all levels are really starting to see the benefits from it, not just to recover from injuries faster, but as we were talking about earlier, improve their performance while they're playing their game.
Okay. You've been working with Marv for quite some time. Has that helped him with his beauty? Is that how he's gotten so pretty?
We see him aging backwards, I think. Which actually,
I suspect cosmetic surgery. I don't know that as a fact, but I suspect it.
We actually get a lot of patients that come in for one thing or the other, like a wound, or they come in for an infection, and not just see progress with the problem they came in with, but start noticing improvement with other things in their body, like aches and pains that they had in other areas, or their skin starts to look a little bit smoother, more elastic, and they notice their hair and nails grow a little bit faster as well. So they typically just keep coming for those additional benefits after they get better from their original injury.
Hugo, I know you have a lot of stories, but I want to tell one story myself. I'm in upper Wisconsin, Hayward, Wisconsin, playing golf. It was a Tuesday. It was Women's Day. And so I'm signing autographs, which I like. And I see this man over there. He's looking. He's looking over here, and I looked over there, and I acknowledged him. He acknowledged me back. So after it was Tuesday, so the women went to their tea. He came over. He says, "Marv Fleming?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Can I have a hug?" And I said, "A hug?" And I kind of said, he says, "Yeah, I like hugs." Okay. So I'm going to give him a big bear hug. He says, "Marvin, I want to thank you." I said, "Thank me for what?" He says, I had lunch with you about 4 years ago or so, and you talked about hyperbarics. He says, well, I was on the gurney. He said, I developed diabetes in my leg, and they wanted to take it off. I was on the gurney going to get it taken off, and I said, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You know, he started fighting and all that. Doctor says, okay. We'll give you 3 months. And so during that time, the 3 months, he went to hyperbarics. He did hyperbarics in Ames, Wisconsin, somewhere at Army base. So, so after about 2.5 months or so, he's getting ready to go back for some more treatment, and he's getting dressed, and he hits his foot against the bedpost, you know, and he said, wait a minute, which is that? And he hit his foot again, you know, and it's the foot that was hurt, he had feeling in it. He says, oh no. Well, his toes came back, his foot came back, his leg came back. And now here he is standing there in a workout outfit at the golf course, because he walks the golf course all the time. And I said, and do you still have your leg? And he says, yeah, I do. Thanks to you, Marv. I said, you mind if I see? No, he says, you want to see? I said, you don't mind, do you? He says, okay. He says, shall I drop my pants or shall I raise my pants leg? I said, no, the pants leg. So I got down there. I said, don't look. I said, I touched his leg. I went, how many times was that? He says, 1. I go, boom. He says, 2. So I went, he says, you're pinching my leg. And I said, wow. But the best part of that was, he says, Marvin, would you talk to my wife, please? He says, honey. He says, you'll never guess who I saw. He's crying. I said, she says, who? No, he said, you'll never guess. And she says, Marv Fleming? Yes, how'd you know? So I got in the line. She says, hi, Marv. Thank you. Marv, are you hungry? That's old school. No, you need a place to stay? No, I'm good. Marvin, thank you. What can we do for you? And it's things like that. I have been on the road everywhere. Every day I talk about hyperbarics to somebody. I mention to somebody. I know there's a million stories. And just like the little girl. You remember that little girl she drowned? She was in the water for a long time?
Yeah, so in my facility, we treated a 4 or 5-year-old little girl, and they don't know exactly how long she was in the water, but unfortunately her parents came out and found her floating in the pool. So they immediately got her out, called 911, and started doing CPR. Well, unfortunately she survived, but she was very unresponsive and in a vegetative state after. So her parents did some searching online and found that there have been studies, and case studies done with hyperbarics and drowned victims. One in particular that a lot of people find on the internet is a patient that was treated at Dr. Harch's facility out in Louisiana. There was a gentleman that got in a motor vehicle accident and went from a similar state of being in a vegetative coma and virtually woke up and started walking and talking again after, I believe, a series of 80 treatments or so. Well, this young girl went through virtually the same protocol at our facility and saw very, very similar results. She is now walking, talking, attending public school just like any other little girl. And she's not 100%, but she's in the 90 percentile range to where you wouldn't entirely know that she had a drowning accident if someone, if no one would have told you. So we've seen some miracles with our therapy. Now, that's not to say that it's a cure-all and it's a for sure fix to these problems, but it's showing a lot of promise for problems that we don't have answers to, in particular to brain injuries and treating heart attacks after the fact. We always promote we should try to prevent these injuries as much as we can, but they do occur, unfortunately, and at large, in large numbers. Heart attacks and strokes are among the leading causes of death in the United States, and traumatic brain injuries up there. Drownings are top 15. And we definitely want to have tools in our tool belt so that way we can combat these problems and ultimately help people get their life back. So that way they don't have to deal with just a life of living in a hospital or long-term acute center, so that, they can just unfortunately waste away. We want to give everyone a fighting chance, and hyperbarics is surely displaying that.
You know, that little girl, I saw her like weeks later. We're in the parking lot. I was driving in, and they were driving in, and she gets out of the car, and I get out of the car. And I said, "Oh, there's that girl," and she runs by and says, "Hi, Mr. Fleming, the football player." I said, "Hi." What's her name? I forgot her name, but she didn't forget my name. Yeah. So there are great stories like that, and for guys to go, and for you out there, if you have any type of problems, you should go and do some hyperbarics.
And I think call Mark, because no, really, I'm serious, because he has actually been through it, and I think it's always nice. For example, I got what kind of surgery? LASIK surgery.
Yes.
He got it first, and I'd been kind of thinking about it for years. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to risk it. I don't know. And then after I talked with him, and he explained to me how he felt, how everything looked, but when you actually talk with someone who has been through it, it makes it a lot easier for you to make a decision yourself sometimes. And I have one other question. Like
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between hyperbarics and hypobarics?
So hyperbaric is an increase in atmospheric pressure. So here at sea level, we have about 760 millimeters of atmospheric pressure upon us. Now, when you go up in elevation, that's when we have hypobaric, meaning a lower amount of atmospheric pressure. So there are chambers out there that simulate those conditions. And the reason they typically would do that, and it's the same reason athletes train at elevation, is because the lack of atmospheric pressure is going to create less oxygen for your body to be able to absorb. So how the body compensates is it actually produces more red blood cells, which carry oxygen. So that way it has a higher capacity to grab onto the oxygen that is available. So athletes typically, after training in high altitude environments or these hypobaric chambers, but they come back to sea level and they work out or they do their competition, they notice an increased amount of energy and they don't get fatigued as quickly. Now, hyperbarics is when we increase the atmospheric pressure so that your body absorbs more of the oxygen. And by absorbing more of the oxygen, we're just providing more of the fuel source that your cells use to go through their biological function. So one stimulates the production of the red blood cells, which is going to grab the oxygen. So in a certain way, it achieves the same mechanism in a different fashion, because ultimately we're trying to increase the amount of oxygen the body takes on, just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of people asking a couple questions. One of them being, is this typically something that insurance companies will cover, or what kind of costs involved to get this kind of treatment?
Yeah, unfortunately, insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, don't cover more than about 18 conditions, which include carbon monoxide poisoning, certain non-healing diabetic wounds, a crush injury, and like necrotizing fasciitis, which is the flesh-eating bacteria, which unfortunately aren't very common, but nonetheless, it doesn't help all the other things that everyone is suffering from. There is a lot of evidence that is displaying this is beneficial for a lot more conditions than what insurance will just pay for. So most patients have to pay for it out of pocket. And depending on the center you go to, treatments can range anywhere between $100 to about $400, depending on how much the facility is asking for treatment.
You know what, that in my opinion is dirt cheap to save your life. Even if you had to go for many treatments, that's dirt cheap. I'm a type 2 diabetic, and if it could take some, pressure off of me taking insulin or the pills and help some kind of way, or like you said, diabetic ulcers and that kind of stuff, I've dealt with those. It's worth looking into, because it could cost you a lot more money in the long run being in the hospital.
Absolutely, and we're finding a lot of our own personal patients find the same thing. Doing a course of hyperbarics to get over healing their wounds, or even just regrowing some blood vessels to get better circulation, so that way they get some feeling back in their extremities and they don't have to deal with some of the neuropathy that comes with the diabetes. You get a lot of extremity pain, and this can really help alleviate those problems.
Now, Hugo, you look very young, man. How are you so knowledgeable about all this stuff? How is it something you have to
He's
go?
older than I am. He's older than I am.
I'm actually
Yeah, you're about 80 years old and been getting in the chamber.
exactly. I live in the chamber practically.
He and I went to high school together.
Okay, all right.
He was ahead
I was one of his TAs.
of it. I just
No, I'm the clinical director at Advanced Hyperbarics, and I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and I have a bachelor's degree in respiratory care. I'm a respiratory therapist by license. Hyperbarics is just one of the cool tools in my belt that I get to utilize. But when I work in hospitals, we're the ones that are taking care of patients on life support, on the breathing machines.
Oh, awesome. Marv, you got a strong testimony of it. Now, are we going to get Uncle Bob in there because getting Uncle Bob feeling a little bit better?
well, I'm about to ask when I can start going down.
Well, he'll have to go through me.
Obviously.
Look at Marv try to get some kind of finder's fee.
Marv will even tell me how fast to drive when I'm going down there, what time to leave and stuff. But I love him, and he is a big brother to me.
Yeah.
We did play against each other directly in front of each other. I've always respected him and respected his opinions.
I paid him to say that.
No, he didn't.
On,
No, he didn't. He didn't.
on camera.
He didn't do it. It was just like with the eye surgery and stuff. I did that because of his recommendation. I've known about the hyperbarics, and Hugo and I met years ago. But I really need to get down there too because I'm type 2 diabetic also. Jim, a recovered cancer patient. So yes, I am going to do it too. Marv is up at 4:30
Playing golf.
every morning playing golf. I want to feel that way, and quite frankly, I don't really feel that way right now. But now we've talked about that. How about the pack and the rebuilding going on there?
Man, I know a lot of people right now are sitting on their edge with the rebuilding that's going on the Green Bay Packers. Give us your intake on what they've been doing with the new head coach and some of these new players coming in. If you've been following it, Marv's out there playing golf too much. I don't know if he's been following it, but what's your thoughts on all that?
My thoughts are, well, you never know if you get a coach, if you get the players believe in the coach. It's just like when I first went to Miami. Miami had won 2 games the previous year, and then they brought some coaching in, they brought some good players in, and we won 12 games the next year. And we went from 2 games to 12 games. And so it's just how the coaching, it all starts at the top. It all starts at the top. Whatever the coach, if it's a good coach and he has to get the players believe in him, they'll have a good team. But if the coach comes in there and he starts taking sides and start to give favors, that's not going to work. No, it's not going to work because it's too many men who want their share of favoritism also. So you need somebody who can come in there and just say, this is how we're going to do it, and hope it's the right way.
I am really, really impressed by the Green Bay organization, not just because Mark Murphy is a personal friend of mine, and I think he's just one heck of a leader, but I'm impressed with the way that the fans have responded to players who have, like Clay Matthews, who have made a tremendous contribution to the team. And now it's time for them to move on. Coaching, it's time for them to move on. In a lot of places, the fans are very nasty and unappreciative of the years and wins that those coaches, those players have brought to their town. Green Bay is an exceptional to your time because everyone, all of the responses that I see online are expressing appreciation to those people who are moving on now for the contribution that they made to the Green Bay Packer franchise. And with the players also, there doesn't seem to be any anger on their part. All of them are expressing their appreciation to the Green Bay franchise and the town of Green Bay for the time that they spent there and the opportunity that they were given to play there. So that's just the most impressive thing to me. But I am kind of glad to see it because I think that Aaron has another championship left in him. And I think that he's still young enough. And I think that by them starting to rebuild now, as opposed to waiting another 2 or 3 years, I think that they're going to be back there and in the running for that NFC game within the next 2 years. Remember who said it? 2 years.
Oh.
They will be in the running for the NFC Championship.
Heard it here first.
Uncle Bob, you hear? There it is, Hugo. You heard it here first, right there with Uncle Bob. I'm telling you guys right now. I've talked to Uncle Bob a few times now. I highly respect the man. But I'm telling you, deep down inside, he's a cheesehead at heart. Marv, you have to agree with me on that.
Trying to get traded there. I tried it. So, but back then, you couldn't go just because you wanted to go.
Hugo, you follow football much? Are you a Packer fan, or you got another team? If you have another team, you can whisper it.
I'm a Packers fan. Go Niners. I tend to keep myself very busy these days, so I don't get too many opportunities to actually watch the game other than the big games like the playoffs and the Super Bowl. But I do have the pleasure of treating numerous professional current athletes and retired. So I do get to follow the game in that sense, where I get to meet a lot of the players on a personal level and see the things that typically make the team not as successful because they're in my facility, unfortunately. So luckily we get to help them get back out on the field quicker, so that way they can hopefully bring some W's to their team.
Okay, all right. Do you guys have a website that you want to throw out there? Anything that people can go take a look at or anything like that? Or you?
Yeah, I do. I appreciate that. So
yeah,
people can definitely find more information about our hyperbaric clinic at advancedhyperbarics.com. And to answer Bob's question earlier about how do we get, an appointment at Advanced Hyperbarics, at our facility, we really like to empower our patients with information, because the more you know, the more you can do for yourself. So before making a large commitment to do an X amount of treatments with us, we do like to offer a free trial treatment that's about a 20-30-minute visit. So that way you can get the experience and you have the full understanding of what it is we have to offer and how it can help you. So that way you can better decide whether it's something that you want to utilize for yourself.
Awesome. Where are you guys located?
We're here in Southern California. We're in a little city named Stanson, right between Anaheim and Buena Park. We're like if you're familiar with the area, it's like a 5-10 minute drive south of Knott's Berry Farm, maybe like a 15-minute drive west of Disneyland.
Okay. All right. I know the area well, very well. Could I ask you guys, and maybe this is more for Uncle Bob, any new players you have lined up that have joined the Congress that are going to do the signature jacket thing? And I know Marv's running that, but any new big-name players that have joined the Congress recently?
Well, Marv has me out there recruiting while he's recruiting. He's a slave driver. I'm telling you, I feel like this is 1865. Yeah, we do have Mike Haynes, the Flamer, has joined the Signature Jacket program. Jim Brown has joined. Eric Dickerson has joined. Gino Marchetti and those guys, they're on board, of course. And Mike. And we got a call from Earl Campbell a week ago. So Earl will be coming on board there too. So we anticipate really marching things like you're out this fall with a really terrific lineup of marquee players. And we'll even accept some Green Bay Packers who were not marquee players. And some Baltimore Colts who were not marquee players as well. But we anticipate having a really, really good lineup this fall. Oh, yeah. And Marv just got us hooked up with the Raider Black Hole crowd. Is that what's called?
Black Hole.
Yeah, the Raider Black Hole. You know those guys that paint their faces and stuff. And Marv was telling me about them. And I was saying, well, we don't want anything to do with like those guys. Those guys are bikers and stuff. He says, no. He says, no, they're not. I says, no, yes, they are. Have you seen them? And so then I'll let Marv explain to you what they are and what they do and why we are going to be working with them.
Yeah, they surprised me because we were showing at our coats at the Raider Fest this year. They had in Pomona. And so I went up and I started talking to these guys and find out that they are all professionals. Their captain is captain of the fire department. They really strict about what they do. And when you see them, you think in the stands, those people that are fighting, they're not part of their group. They're just in the group, fighting within the group. But they're just and they're all over. They're all over the nation. Yeah, and they have clubs, the Black Hole clubs, and probably I'd say half the states in the United States, and they're big, and they dress up in all black with horns and all that, and you think, but they're there just for a good time.
And the really impressive thing about them, which is why I was glad to have them come in, and Marv and I met with them. Here is they generate a fair dollar, and all the money that they generate, they give to deserving charities.
They're big donators.
Marv, you know Wayne Sargent.
Yes.
I was chatting with Wayne earlier. He wanted me to tell you hello.
Oh.
But then Steve Tate, the owner Steve Tate, that's always on TV with his cheese head that says the owner on it.
Yeah.
He's watching right now, so is Wayne. And both of these guys go to these stadiums all the time. And I know Steve knows what you're talking about with the Black Hole. And everybody sees the Black Hole as a scary, scary situation, But in all reality, these guys are just like everybody else out there. They just have a very strong passion for their team, just like we do with Cheeseheads. And Steve Tate and Wayne Sargent and everybody is like, hey, you know what? When we go to these stadiums, we have to represent our own team, but we could do it in a classy kind of way. We don't have to hate each other. We don't have to fight each other. It happens all too often, and you could go there and have a good time. A lot of people go there and have their beers and that kind of stuff. Stay in control. Don't act like an idiot. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on an hour time, and I don't like taking too much of your guys' time, but a couple things I want to say, and then I'm going to let you guys finish up here. I think that these people, the people in this group, need to go buy some jackets, for one thing. They need to go buy the Green Bay Packer jackets, for one. I have, two of them myself. I have a Dodger one. I have the Marv Fleming one that you guys sent me that I absolutely love. I don't wear it. I got it framed, I'm keeping it up. You know, my son Brett, it's his. When I'm done with my hyperbaric chamber days, you know, it goes to my son. And so thank you guys for that. But these guys need to go pick up some jackets, Green Bay Packers, but then they need to, for their loser family members, pick up a Dallas Cowboy or a Colts or one of those 49er jackets for their loser family members that like those other team members. Wouldn't you agree?
And that will be helping out our pioneer players. And that's why we're here, to help the guys who can't really help themselves. And to see the expression in their faces when we help them out, it's unbelievable.
And buy from our website.
Yes.
www.playerscongress.com. We have our store there. You know, we'll pick up a few dollars more if you buy directly from our website.
And you better go to that website because I like it.
Would you repeat it? Jim, would you repeat that website?
Absolutely. Playerscongress.com. There's a link on top of this website, www.playerscongress.com. There's a link right above this. You guys better go pick up some jackets. I might need to go pick me up another Dodger one. I love my Dodger one.
Yeah.
They're great jackets. I actually have one of the 49ers one. And whenever I'm in that town, people swear I'm a local. It looks great. It feels great. And it certainly keeps you warm while you're out there.
Jim, Hugo is on one of the 4 guys that that's on our website. You know,
Oh, he's on that main picture that I put on there, isn't that?
Yes.
That's right. That's right. I thought you looked familiar.
Oh, stop it.
I tell you, that website, I don't know. Whoever got you guys, you know, working on that website and creating it and that kind of stuff, you guys got somebody good right there because that website looks good. I'll tell you that.
He's a pretty tough guy, I'm telling you. He's a slave driver also.
I love it. I love you guys, man. I love you. I'm still coming down there real soon, too. I'm coming down there. I want to come see the facility.
Hey, one last thing. You know, we could say that we respect him and everything, but for all of us, whether we were Packers like you or not, and I know it goes for Marv like you too, Bart Starr, we love you.
Absolutely.
And I want to say to all the people that, you know, if you want to help the guys who made the game, go to our website, and because I'm sure at some time in the past they've made you happy because they were part of your team. We've got jackets for all the teams. We have winter jackets and summer jackets. So come help us help them, because you'll be a big part of it.
Absolutely. I got to say one thing, two things, man. I just keep going on. But one is Christine Rupert in our group says Hugo is a cutie pie. That just came across in some comments there. So shout out to that.
You got to take Marv off. You're going to take Marv.
No.
He will not be inviting Hugo back again, I'm telling you.
He's gonna get up and walk away again from us, Bob. Now, you brought up Bart Starr. Do you know if Bart Starr has ever done any kind of hyperbaric chambers?
Nope.
Don't know.
I've heard that he's done some stem cell, but I'm not familiar with his medical.
Okay. All right. So do the people look at it kind of as an alternative medicine? Is that what they kind of look at it as?
Yeah, they do. However, it's not really an alternative form of medicine, considering it's been around longer than most conventional medicine we use today. And insurance does pay for it for certain conditions. So it's just that it's under amplified in awareness. So a lot of doctors just aren't familiar with how to utilize it for these particular conditions. But we're trying to change that. We're trying to just increase awareness and teach a lot more, not just the general public, but people in the medical community, so that way they recognize how it works and how we can better use it to ultimately help not just athletes, but the entire, population in general, just live longer and happier lives.
Hasn't the United States military been working with hyperbarics? I'm pretty sure that I read that down in Oklahoma and some other places that our great U.S. military had been using it on some of the boys and girls who have come back with, what do you call it, PTSD.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we're starting to use it a lot more for different brain injuries, including PTSD with the servicemen and women that are coming back from combat. And we're seeing great success with it. Again, considering the brain is the one organ in the body that uses the vast majority of the amount of oxygen we consume just to function, nonetheless try to recover from anything. Using oxygen is just a very good and simple idea that is not invasive, that has very minimal side effects, and is giving great results to a lot of people that are using it.
Awesome. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, California, you go get the hyperbaric chamber at the same time. They legalize weed. You could go, go smoke a little weed. It's completely legal down there, and you got the best of both worlds. No comment on that, Uncle Bob. Huh? Just having a good time. Now, I've mentioned to these guys, you guys want to come back, and you guys want to come back with other football players, other people in the sports world, and do this on a regular basis. And I told them the only way that this is going to happen is they need to go buy some jackets from you guys. Would you agree?
I agree.
All right.
And
Well, then, how do you want to finish this up, Marv? I don't want to step on your feet, man. I don't want to get in trouble again.
no, when they do call in, or they just say that they saw us on Facebook Live.
Okay.
That means a lot to us.
They talk to Nicole's the one that answers the phone. She's a sweetheart. Be super nice to Nicole. Don't give her a hard time. She's my friend.
Right. Anyway, all right. Hey, we thank you for having us on, and we will be back on probably when soon, as they say in Jamaica, man. Soon come, man. Soon come.
Well, then, guys, I'm going to ask one thing. We always end any kind of live when we say it loud and we say it proud. What do you think we say, Mark?
Go, Pack, go.
Go, Pack, go. All right, guys, thank you for your time. Hugo, thank you very much. Bob, send my love, man. I hope you get feeling better. Marv, hit me up, and we'll talk soon. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Take care.
Take care.